What's going on, guys? So this is going to be a little bit of a longer form video. And so we'll call it Ryan Unfiltered because I'm not going to edit. I'm just going to record and post it. Um, but there's no way I can narrow this down in less than a minute. So I appreciate it if you're hanging around to watch. So today, a little while ago, I'm in here working, hear what sounds like gunshots. But I go to the door and it's like, what's going on? There was a homeless person who was at the other door of the candle room. And it was a lady, and I recognized her because she's come to church some. But I had a little bit of spare time. So I sat on the planters in the front of my shop that my mom keeps looking beautiful year round. I sat there and I listened for the first time in a long time. I just listened. And she started opening up about her life and the substance abuse, prostitution, bouncing around, having to do terrible things to be able to stay in a warm place. And it's just, man, it's sad. And she started sharing some of just some of the problems she had in life. And I remember sitting back and saying, I don't have, or thinking to myself, I don't have the answers to her problems, right? But I remember I caught the words coming out of my mouth, but it said, come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And I remember telling her this, and it's just like, look, this is what Jesus says. And she asked a question. She said, when do you do that? And man, for me, it's like, well, the answer's so simple. Seeing from my eyes, it's like the answer's so simple. But I was able to have a grace to see it from the way she was asking it. And then it became so complex, right? Because for me, it's like, well, I know if I go to him, he'll do it in a supernatural way, but he'll give me peace. He'll give me rest. But when you're stuck in a lifestyle and you've been going to other things to find relief, like that's complex. It's very difficult to say, so you're telling me put down the drugs and he's going to give me the relief that I'm seeking? You're telling me to put down the alcohol and he's going to give me this relief and he's going to give me rest? Like, that's a huge step of faith. And I'm like, and so all I could answer her, I remember sitting there just thinking, like, being able to see it through both ways, like from one side where I've gone there and I've received the rest. And so it's easy, and I've been filled with his goodness, so I know that like his goodness is better than these things. But I was still able to see it from her perspective of like, I don't know if I can trust that. And in her story, she was telling me how people have treated her in the past. And from my own two eyes, I've seen how like a lot of the business of church, it's like, the first time they come, you treat them well. But as they continue to come, they become a nuisance and they become a distraction and they pull things away from the service. And it's like we tend we tend to lose the reality of the truth. And it's like, this lady who is the least of these, she's got nothing she could offer me. Okay? That's how I identify the least of these. They don't offer you anything. And it's like, I'm going to go and sit for an hour and listen to somebody preach about love when the opportunity to love is being shunned because they're drunk and they smell bad. It's insanity. It really is. And so, for me, one of the things that really, oh man, this is one of the things that it's like, how sometimes you feel like Jesus is patting you on the back and saying like, man, you're finally beginning to understand. Like a lot of times when I hear those stories and I see those people, I would love to say that like judgment doesn't come up in my heart, but often it does. Okay? But today, like for the first time in a long time, it's like I remember sitting listening to her story. And literally, there was only compassion. And it's like the Lord told me, He's like, Ryan, when your heart is full of compassion, there's no room for judgment. But if your heart is full of judgment, there's no room for compassion. And I was just so thankful, like, man, because it's just evidence of the work He's doing in my life. Because there are many times that there is judgment and no compassion. Just being honest. But and I begin to ask myself, like, why? Like, why was today different, Lord? Why was there compassion? Why did I see your grace and your love and your goodness doing things, planting seeds, watering the seeds? Like, why? And He said, Ryan, it's because you took the time to see this person as one of my children. And man, that'll ruin you. That's what conviction is. Right? Because the next time I'm going to see him as one of His children that He dearly loves. Instead of seeing it as a distraction, an aggravation, anything less than a child of God. So, out there, you might be, look, this thing's got so many different layers that I can learn from. So like one, you might be out there and Jesus likens the least of these. If we do things to the least of these, it's just like we're doing to Him. All right, that's His comparison. So for me, I consider the least of these people who can offer you nothing. Okay? And I know that's terrible, but it's reality sometimes. There are people in this world that like I can offer them nothing. I got nothing to give them. All right? I'm the least of these to somebody, right? And so, like, that's how we identify who Jesus is, how we can treat Him. Okay, but one, it's like the least of these, I just made room to listen. And not treat them like a child of God, just treat them like a human being. Like this person who has nothing they can give me, to sit and give the most valuable thing in my time, to just listen and show them they're human and step it above and show them they're a child of the Lord and that He loves them dearly. So I told her, I was like, you're a daughter and He loves you. Give them truth. It's like care that, like, for her to say, when do you come to Him? You know what my answer was? It was like, whenever you're tired of the drugs and the alcohol. like that's when you go. To have mercy that they don't have the faith, to have a greater understanding that, like, I'm stepping into His work. I'm not manipulating. I'm not. I got no motives but to love this person. You know, there was no way that I could solve this lady's problems. None whatsoever. Okay? But I tell you what, I had joy in revealing to her that, like, you know, there's somebody who cares for you dearly. He loves you. He loves you. You're his child. And he's fighting for you. And he'll make a way. And so, man, it just convicted me. It really did. To do better, to as I see these people, and to show them what love looks like. It's easy. It's easy, my friends. A little bit of time. So, like I said, this is unedited. This is raw, so there might be some rambling. Things might not just come together, but it's okay. That's where mercy is. So, my friends, when you mess up, man, don't beat yourself up. But when you get it right, celebrate. Celebrate the times. And be happy. And show somebody some love today. It could be listening to them. All right, y'all take care.